The Ochoco Challenge is an off-road camping trip I lead every year. It's a 600-mile chance to get off the pavement and into Oregon's backcountry. Each winter I start planning out the next year's route, always trying to include the Ochoco National Forest. Early runnings of the challenge were patterned after Top Gear special episodes, where the host would buy beater cars and push them to the limit. Since we don't have support crews and have to be back to work on Monday, my routes, though still fun, were not as extreme. But when you take cars off-road, it can be a challenge. So for the past 4 years, I've been pressing the easy button. Air conditioning is great. Last winter marked the second in a row with no heat in the cruiser, so in April I put in a rather large order to Rock Auto in Witsend to redo the cooling system. I ended up having to pull both batteries and unbolt the headlights to get the old radiator out. I was glad I took a picture of the top of the house battery for reassembly. Danny's prep looked a little easier, just get the rooftop tent on. After rendezvousing in Sandy for fuel, we headed east on 26, over Mount Hood to the dry side of the Cascades. Our group was almost exclusively Toyotas, 2 Land Cruisers, a 4Runner, a Tacoma, and a Sequoia. Rounding out the caravan was a Jeep JL. We entered the Ochoco National Forest from the north side, which involved navigating a few shallow water crossings. I've been through here before when there's more water, but we're a week later in June than we normally are, so less water. This particular weekend, most of the Ochoco National Forest campgrounds had not yet opened. We were lucky enough to find a dispersed site near one of the closed campgrounds. After getting our camp set up, we still had lots of daylight left for exploring. In the evening, we were joined by 2 more of the vehicles who headed out later in the day, a GMC Colorado, and keeping the Toyotas on top, a GX 460. Because we were later in June, our trip butted up against campfire restrictions, which meant no fire Friday night, but we were able to enjoy a nice one on Thursday. Friday morning, we made a beeline for Prineville to fuel up and then meet at the Prineville Reservoir for a few hours of relaxing and swimming. Like most of Oregon, we'd been cooped up for many weeks and wanted to get out. One more Jeep, a Grand Cherokee, joined us there before we headed east again along the north side of the reservoir, headed for the Maury Mountains section of the Ochoco National Forest. As we wound our way through the forest, climbing up to around 5,000 feet, we encountered a tree down across the road, and just 50 yards up the road, a couple more smaller trees were down. I'd hoped that having one of our group prepared with a chainsaw would mean that we wouldn't need it, but today was not that day. As I looked at the map and the time, trying to figure out if turning our caravan of 9 around and finding an alternate route was in the cards, Two of our guys got to work with their chainsaws, clearing all the trees in about 20 minutes, each using a slightly different approach, equipment-wise.
And there's Ryan, cutting away. Note the difference in attire. Ryan is wearing shorts and sandals. Colin is wearing a helmet, chaps, gloves, and boots. Exciting times.
As with the previous night, all the official campgrounds were closed. Rather than having the whole train look for a dispersed site, I asked the guys in the Colorado to go ahead and radio back if they found something. Find something they did. A great spot just a mile-ish down the road. Flat, shady, and relatively free of bugs. The next morning, we packed our camp and headed south. Our caravan was now 11, as friends in a Jeep Liberty and a Discovery joined us the night before. Soon we were out of the Ponderosa forest of the Maury Mountains and into sagebrush country, heading south towards Glass Butte, a 5-million-year-old volcano between Bend and Burns, well known for obsidian deposits. A few miles of smooth Highway 20 led us to Glass Butte. We circled around a large juniper and set about making lunch. As we pulled in, my daughter said she could see obsidian on the ground. I thought it was probably a broken beer bottle. I was wrong. There was obsidian on the ground everywhere. After getting gas in Riley, we headed north again into a section of the Ochoco National Forest administered by the Malheur National Forest. Destination Deliniment Lake, our camping spot for the night. After 2 nights of dispersed camping, being in a proper campground with other campers felt a little weird, but the restroom facilities and potable water were a welcome change. Fire danger was lower here, allowing a campfire, and the annual creation and subsequent consumption of the instant diabetes s'more. This year's s'more included the standard Hershey's chocolate and marshmallow, with subtle and nuanced additions such as donut holes and Sour Patch Kids. I woke up Sunday morning to the sound of rain on the tent. That was unexpected. Even more unexpected was the snow that began to flurry shortly after. As is typical on Ochoco Challenge Sundays, we split into smaller groups when we left our campsite, choosing different routes back home. A few of us headed north to drive along the South Fork of the John Day River to Dayville. It began to rain harder as we left, with occasional snow mixed in, and sometimes hail. As we got closer to Dayville, the clouds parted and the sun returned again, starting to dry things out. From here, it was pavement all the way back to Portland. Links to the places we visited are in the description below. Thanks for watching.